Folks, these are not the first troops to die and unfortunately won't be the last. But this is a turning point in this, what we're calling a conflict in Iran, not just for the military strategy, but for the president personally. You saw this today. Folks, these four soldiers, Lieutenant Tyler Freehan, Sergeant Michael Swinton, Sergeant Angela Ramsed, and Private Isabella Gonzalez, are the first returning soldiers killed in this conflict that were the result of direct action by Iran. Deeply personal to me. I have been there when you put your friends on a plane draped in that flag. Now, Donald Trump went, and he went and to look those families in the eye and say, I'm sorry. He said this at his rally today after, when he went down to Georgia after riding with one of those Gold Star families on Air Force One.
I think it's the toughest thing I do. Of anything I do all this stuff, but I think it's the toughest thing I do.
You bet it is. Knowing full well that he unilaterally made the decision that resulted in those people's children coming home in a box, and he showed up. You know how hard that is to see a Gold Star parent? The man responsible for your child's death right in front of you? But he showed up knowing that. And Trump, look, I know this guy. He does not take this lightly. Because not only does he need to stand there and watch these destroyed families deal with this, he now has to give them an answer. Actually, he's got to give the world an answer, too. What were they killed for? You're now looking at families. You're looking at them in the face at a dignified transfer. You have to tell them what their child died fighting for. Folks, we never did this in Iraq and Afghanistan, which it was the hardest thing I had to deal with during my deployments, and even when I got back. What was the goal? What am I getting almost shot for every single night in Baghdad or Fallujah or wherever I was? What was the measure of success in Iraq and Afghanistan for that war? I remember coming back from my second deployment, which we lost someone on. We lost a lot of people. Young EOD guy, I actually took this picture, Tyler Trahan. We loaded his body onto a plane, just like one of these dignified transfers. And I remember coming back to a huge assembly. All the East Coast SEAL teams that were in CONUS at the time went to this. It was with the Admiral, and we were supposed to be able to ask questions. They knew that the sled dogs, we were getting super restless about what the hell we were doing because we were being handcuffed by rules of engagement. That's actually what killed Tyler. And, people wanted answers. So this is supposed to be like this informal, open conversation with the head of WARCOM, which is the parent SEAL command. So I said, hey, respectfully, Admiral, what's the desired end result in Iraq and Afghanistan? And how do we mark that success? And I got this long, ambiguous mission readiness and regional stability, but no answer. And watching the dudes in that room crushed morale. And I am, Mr. President, I am begging you, please don't make that mistake again. Respectfully, sir. And Pete Hegseth was actually asked about this yesterday.
I guess my question to you is, how are we going to define winning?
Look, I think Van Hollen is an idiot, and I hate to give Democrats any credit for anything, but they took that talking point from us warfighters over the last 20 years, and they're rolling with it now. You don't have to tell us tactics, you don't owe us strategy, but you do have to define an end result and how you mark success. Now, Iran not getting a nuclear weapon is not a measurable goal. It's not a strategy because it's open-ended. It's like, it never ends. It's a product of the end result, but it is not the end result. I am speaking to the president as someone who wants him so deeply to be successful. And I am 100% behind finishing this once and for all, because this is the only shot we got. Not only to get revenge for killing my friends, which I really want on these Iranian turds. No one else is going to stop this problem. No one will ever have the set to do this again in my lifetime. Everyone knows I was against going into this conflict in the beginning because I knew this was going to happen and the likelihood of being drawn into some long, drawn-out conflict was serious. But I have also been the strongest voice for finishing what we started now. Dipping out now is not an option. As someone who has lost 3 friends to an EFP roadside bomb built by Iran in 2007, right next to me, knocked me out too. My friend next to me took a round in the stomach from an Iranian-backed militia. Tyler was killed while disarming an Iranian-supplied IED. I spent 9 years of my life studying this regime, its resolve, its goals, and how they will happily lose every single soldier in their arsenal if just one of them can survive to carry on this fight over the next 500 years. They don't need to win today. They view that as a win. They don't have to beat us. They have to survive. We have to beat them. They are a totally different animal. They will strap bombs to themselves to kill us. When we bomb something of theirs, they don't look at it as, oh, it's a crushing loss. The ones who survived view that as a win, and it strengthens their resolve. Now, I think the president went in giving the benefit of the doubt that there might be some possibility of a rational discussion and some diplomacy, but I think now he kind of gets that that's not possible. He said on Truth today, from this point forward, anytime the Islamic Republic of Iran shoots at a ship in the Strait of Hormuz, whether it be done by missile, rocket, drone, or any other device or weapon, the United States will bomb and destroy one bridge or power plant, including those located next to or in the capital city of Tehran. This marks a huge change in strategy. Still not an end result, but strategy. And this goes to Pete Hegseth's testimony yesterday in Congress. He wants more money. Look, I think Pete, who has been a friend of mine for over 10 years, actually longer than that, has done a magnificent job in rebuilding our military, especially in morale. But this is now a war. This is a turn of events in timeline, okay? You said you need this much more money, so tell us what it buys us.
On the readiness front, we requested $21 billion. On the capabilities side, we requested $46 billion.
Pete, love you, man. You want close to totaling, I think it's like 80-something to $100 billion. Man, look, I will pay my taxes twice this year to help with that nut if you tell Congress that this is what we want to do and this is how we're going to achieve it. Like the first mission in Iran, Midnight Hammer. There was objective, there was plan, there was action and completion. And then you go get Congress to buy in, and they declare war, and you bury that entire country under a blanket of American-induced dust. I will support my people going in there and snatching bodies in the middle of the night and taking their oil fields and turning every single power plant, civilian or military, into a parking lot. Pete, I will support you no matter how many war crimes the international community thinks we would be committing, but do it right, which I know you want to do, man. You have said it, and I know you, and I know because you were in that 20-year fight, that endless war in Iraq and Afghanistan right next to me. Give NATO the finger, and critics know where to hide. For God's sakes, give those families on the tarmac today a reason their children died. Look, Pete, you have the hardest job next to the president on the planet right now. But you need to force that congressman who doesn't want to give you that money, tell that congressman to go look that family who just lost their child in the eye and say, no, we're not voting for any more money for action in Iran. And that congressman is essentially saying, you know what, your kid had died for nothing. You make them have that conversation, Pete. You put any opponent of finishing this job in that position, you will win this war and you will win the public support unequivocally. But let me be super clear about two things here. We are going to run out of conventional bombs before Iran runs out of people who hate us. So start with that in your planning meeting. And most importantly, I care more about a single hair on one American troop's head than I do about every single man, woman, child, and even their dogs combined in the entire country of Iran. So how about let's do some no mercy, because this is real.
He loves the Constitution. He fights for what's right. He hates the bad guys. He's a freedom warrior. He's your freedom warrior. Watch Carl Higbie every weekday on Newsmax.